and no exercise for this particular chapter. So this chapter already finished. So this week we will move to chapter 7 and chapter 8. So today we will cover two chapters. Chapter 7, specifying operation and specifying control. But don't worry, these two chapter is quite easy. Yeah, these two chapter is quite easy. So let's move to this chapter 7 first. Specifying operation. Hmm. Wait, I want to check something. Okay, so let's proceed. Actually, I'm checking one student. Why is he absent in my class again? By the way, so let's proceed to this chapter, chapter 7, specifying operation. So in this chapter, we will cover, as you see here, in this lecture, we will cover about the role of operation specification and describing the operation logic. So in this chapter also, we will cover or we will learn two things: algorithm, algorithmic technique and non-algorithmic technique. But as you see, there are six here, six technique. But for this chapter, we only cover this activity diagram and OCL. So OCL is actually object constraint language. So even though we have six, we only cover this one, structure English. We do not cover in this unit, this chapter. And pseudocode. I think most of you, if you learn diploma before, I think you should know what is pseudocode. So pseudocode is like a set of instruction. It's not a programming language, but pseudocode is like a set of instruction to tell what is the flow of our application or our system. But pseudocode is more to like English, like that's mean human can, it is readable by human. And then we are going to see activity diagram in this chapter. And then non-algorithmic technique, pre and post condition pairs, we do not cover in this chapter. Decision table also not covered in this chapter, but we will see what is OCL. Object, like I said, OCL is stand for object constraint language. Okay, so before we start, actually, I want to share with you guys. For example, in your writing, not only for research method, in any writing of yours, if you want to use any abbreviation, abbreviation is like short form. This is abbreviation. This is what we call abbreviation. So in your writing, every time you want to use abbreviation or short form, the first time using it, you should write the full sentence or the full name of it, so that the next time in the same paper or in the same paragraph you're using it, you only can use this abbreviation. But the first time using it, you need to tell what it is stand for. So this OCL is stand for constraint object constraint language. So we will see what is object constraint language. But object constraint language is actually to specify constraint and other expression in the model. But we will say later what is this. So let's move to this. As you can see, only 16 pages for this chapter, and then chapter 8, I think around 20 pages, so it won't be like the previous chapter, 91 slide. So here, specifying operation. So why we need to specify the operation, why it is important? Actually, it is very important to specifying operation, because as you can see here, I already highlight these three: perspective, analysis, design, and test. This one is usually done by different group or different people from analysis perspective. So this one is from the, usually in business world, it is from the BA, business analyst. Design is the programmer, test is the tester or the quality check group, quality check team. So uh, from from analysis perspective or from the BA, like I told you before, BA or business analyst is the people or is the team that uh it's not meeting, the team that see the client or the user. So it is very important for the BA to understand exactly what is the exact requirement from the user or from the client. So it is very important for them because sometimes what the user tell us is not what we understood. So it is very important for the BA to ensure users need, so that it is the correct or the match requirement with what they want. So if this BA have wrong understanding, these two team will also have the wrong understanding, because this is the people, the middle people that will work between the client or the user, and they will pass whatever they understood to this team, programmer and tester. So it is very important to ensure users' need are understood. It's not only understood, but the exact match with their requirements. So this is very important, the BA. So like I always told you and I informed you before, this subject or OAD, those who are interested to see client, to meet people, and they don't like programming, this subject or OAD is very important because BA use this diagram a lot. They use diagram a lot to convey the message between the client and the team. So that one is BA perspective. And then next after BA, we have this design perspective. So design, of course, it is a developer, programmer, or the software engineer, whoever that developed the code or whoever that did that develop our application. So from a design perspective, guide programmer to an appropriate implementation. That means it is very important to tell the programmer to develop the correct requirement. So this is from the designer perspective, which is our programmer, our software engineer. Okay, and then by the way, I want to share with you guys, programmer, if you go to, well, I don't expect any of you see the job street because you are not yet looking for a job. If you go to a job street, usually job street, they sometimes tell front end programmer, back end programmer, and full stack. So for programmer, sometimes you just need to only focus on the front end, the interface, and then if the back end programmer, those who are develop the database that what the term connect the front end UI and the back end database, and then full stack developer is the one that do both. So programmer, some students are very afraid with programming because they don't like coding, but sometimes coding is easier than we thought. That one is for programming or designing. And then next we move to test perspective. So like I said just now, test is the one, or no, it's not the one. It's the people or it's the team that who are going to test whatever requirement that pass or whatever requirement that set by the BA. So it is very important in working, or it's not working, it is very important in the business world, whatever we pass to the user or whatever we pass to the client is passed or it's acknowledged passed by this team, tester or QC. Okay, tester, some people thought tester is easier than the programmer because they just need to test if the requirement match or if the application match with the requirement, but no, tester can be as hard as programmer. And one thing that you need to know later, if you go to work, programmer cannot pass their own product. That means, for example, if I am a programmer, I cannot tell the BA that my, for example, an application, I cannot tell the BA my application is passed. that is biased. Programmer cannot test its own product. Of course, we need to test before we pass to the QC or tester, but we cannot directly tell the BA that the product or whatever it is pass the testing phase. That is so wrong. Okay, you need to acknowledge by this one first. If anything happened to your, if let's say you as a programmer, you told this BA you already passed your program. If anything happened at the client side or at the user side, then these two people or these two team are so in trouble. You cannot do that. Do not do back end job. That is so wrong. You need to pass to this group. So it is very important for the test or QC quality check group have the same perspective with the BA on the business requirement. So it is to verify that the method that was originally intended, the one that I said just now, we need to cross-check with the analyst perspective so that everyone here, every team here are working on the same thing and are on the same page. So that's why it is very important. So, okay. So we are still in specifying operation. So intent or purpose of the operation. This one is like only a point. So we just need to go through it. Operation signature, including the return type, description of the logic, other operation called in the same object or in other object. This one, the what point here, other operation called in the same object or other object. This one like we call back the operation, or yeah, we call back the operation. It's like we're calling back the function. So this one is specifying operation, but we will see. Okay, so like I said, this chapter is quite easy because the notation or the symbol used is not something new to you guys. Because if you're familiar with flowchart, then by right you are familiar with this. But I expect at your level you are familiar, you know what is the notation of the flowchart. So this diagram, what we call as activity diagram, you should know too. So here, the first example for today, example 1, activity diagram with selection and iteration. Iteration. Okay. So here, this is an activity diagram to prepare for prepare bonus list. Okay. So here, as you see, this is the entry point, entry point and the end exit point. So, oh, by the way, guys, I want to remind you in your assignment, because I found this in your assignment. If you notice, it's not that you notice. Of course, you know that I let some minor error or minor error in your assignment. But if you use the notation of your diagram wrongly, that one I cannot let it slide. Of course, I need to deduct your mark. There's one group, I'm not sure why, they are like have a boss. So in this group, this one people do or use the wrong notation, and then the whole team also follow the wrong notation. So that one I cannot slide. Of course, I need to deduct your mark, but I think they already met their correction. So for your use of notation, of course, I will be very strict on you. You need to use the use notation or use symbol, because this is your level. It's not the diploma first year level. You do not know what is the notation. So that's why for your assignment, you need to be very careful. You might see that, or you might think that I'm someone that very easygoing, but no, in your assignment, I'm going to be very strict. If I said that is correct, I will accept. But if I said that is wrong, then that is wrong. Okay, so back to this slide. So here, as you can see, this is the diagram, activity diagram to prepare for bonus list. So here, bonus list, and then this is a process to calculate bonus list, and then this is a notation for like condition. So we have 3 here, 1, 2, 3. This one, the first the first one is bonus less than 25 pound. So here, the first one here, bonus less than 25 pound, it will go to this one. If bonus less than or it between this 25 and 250 pound, it will go to here. And then if bonus greater than 25, 20, 50 pound, it will go to here. This is just a normal flow, and I think it's quite easy for you guys to understand. But whoever do not understand how to read this notation, how to read this chart, you can tell me, because this is very important. Actually, for those who are in computer science, no offense, but I think every student should know this, because this is the most common, one of the most common diagram that we will use in the working world. So at least you guys should know this. If you do not know like the interaction diagram, I think that one is okay, but this one you need to know. So here again, back to this diagram. Here is the process, and then here is the condition notation. We need to check if the condition meet the requirement, then we will proceed. So this is the last process, and then of course we have this end notation here. So this activity diagram is quite easy for selection and iteration. And then next we have second diagram. What is this for? So this is second example to model the complex logic binary search to sorted array. So array, you already, this array you should learn in your programming. By the way, array in programming, array is a data structure. So array usually contain a group of element. So sorted array is actually when searching for something, when we have this sorted array, it will speed up our search instead of looking one by one. That one is in your programming subject. Okay, now we have this diagram here. Now we have this diagram here, binary search to sorted array. Again, this one is our entry and exit point. This one low is equal to 0, high size plus 1. So this one is our process, and we have this condition. Again, we need to check. I think this one too is quite easy to understand. We have this condition to check, and then this flow, the flow of our process will based on the condition. So if our low is less than high, it will go to here. So if low is greater than or equal to high, it will end the process. So it will go to here, and then it will go to here. And again, they need to check the condition. They have two more condition here. It's like an iteration. No, it's not iteration. This is a repetition. So of course, you need to check the condition until they no longer meet the condition. So it will exit this process. So that's why I said this one is quite easy. This one is like revision to whatever you already studied. This diagram is like revision to whatever you already studied in your diploma. Okay, so now we will go to OCL. Like I said, OCL is stand for Object Constraint Language. OCL Object Constraint Language. So it is a formal language used to express constraint on a model that remains easy to read and write. So constraint is like limitation. This one, constraint is like limitation on a model. So constraints in OOAD, in this constraints in OOAD is like something that we use to specify the condition or restriction that need to be satisfied over time. So that is constraint in OOAD. And then OCL can be specify many constraint, the limitation, that cannot be expressed directly in the class diagram. So it is necessary to describe additional constraints about the object in the diagram. So constraints specify invariant condition that the system being modeled. So here I highlight invariant condition. So invariant condition is actually the condition about the relationship between our variable in our program. So it should it should consist of context, property, and operation. So we will look, or we will go to see what is this, what is context, property, and operation. So any question before we move to this element of OCL? No. Okay, cool. So let's move to the first one, context. So context define domain within which expression is valid. We will see the example later. So context is used to define the domain within which expression is valid. So instance of a type, example, the object in our class diagram. So link, the relationship or association may be context. So this is the example of context company. I'm not sure what is INB stand for. INB, invoice. I'm not sure, but this is just an example. By the way, this is a context. So self dot number of employees is greater than 50. But we will see later how to use this one. By the way, this is the context. And then next, we have a property of that instance. So often an attribute, association, role name, or query operation. So this is an example, or this is what do we call this? Hmm. Later we will see. I forgot already. What's the name? Oh, expression. Okay, expression. This is the expression for context and property. So self manager is unemployed is equal to false. So association and the role name. So manager. So this is the expression. And then operation. So OCL, object constraint language, have operation that is applied to the property and include. So this one, at this by right, up to this chapter, you should know already, or you should familiar already. This one, arithmetical operators, this is not new to you guys, not new. Yeah, this is not new for you guys. This one, and set operators such as size. This symbol is not new, of course, not new to us because we already see in the previous chapter. So it's empty for all set and sum. So this is the common operator that used in OCL. So this is the sample of the operation expression. So self.stock price, we have this operator here, and then greater than 0. So yeah, you should know how to read this. This is some simple or basic operation or operator. This one. So that's the three things just now. I said operation, property, and context. So here, we have a class diagram. This is example. Like I said, this chapter is not, there's nothing much, or it's not nothing much. There's not really a new thing to you guys. So this one you should know already what is this class diagram. You should know how to read the multiplicity. You should know how to read what is the class name of each of the class and the or relationship of each of the class. So, but you need to remember, of course, this is a class diagram. You are familiar with it, but you need to know, what you need to know is this is the class diagram for OCL. So, like I said, OCL is to specify constraints and other expressions. So, same goes with the normal class diagram. So, this is the same class diagram if you have any constraint. That means you can write something like this. Constraints is limitation. Limitation that we cannot draw. No. Something that we cannot express in our class diagram, but we need them so that if you go back to the earlier slide, we need them. We need this OCL so that people can understand, or people can easily write easily write and understand. So this is the example. I don't think I want to explain this because this one you should know already how to read this class diagram. This is the same class diagram with the previous chapter. We see this class diagram and we read and we know how to read this class diagram a lot. So here the same, this is the class name, this is the attribute, and this is the method or operation. Okay, the same way to read with the previous class diagram. So the association also the same. Person can manage companies zero or more than company, and then this one too, company can have zero or more employee. Okay, husband husband zero or one, wife. Oh, okay. So this is the same association or the same uh relationship. Okay, this is not new to you guys. So here is the explanation from the above diagram. So each OCL object constraint language. So each OCL expression is written in the context of an instance to a specific type. So the reserved word self is used to the contextual instance. For example, in the context of the company type of figure above, the OCL expression specify an invariant invariant is the, like I said, invariant is the condition that the number of employees exceed 50. So here is the statement of our expression. So expression specifies an invariant condition that the number of employees exceed 50. So this is the expression context company invariance. Oh, INVA. Okay, INV stand for invariance. So company invariance is equal to self numbers of employee is greater than 50. So self is an instance of a type company. Okay, this is the explanation of OCL expression based on this diagram. And then next, this is, okay, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is an example on the OCL expression and interpretation. So this one is quite new for you guys. So here, let's check at this OCL expression. So here, this is our expression. So person self dot gender. So this is our, okay. So in the context of a specific person, the value of the property gender of that person. So a person's gender. So gender here is our property. So gender here is the property of this expression. So gender is the property. And then next we look at the next operation, self dot saving. So saving is the property. Gender is our property for this expression. Saving is our property for this expression. So the property of this expression must be greater than or equal to 50, 500. So here, as you can read, the property saving of that person under consideration must be greater than or equal to 500. So the condition for this property is, the condition of this property must be greater or equal to 500. So the property of this expression is saving. The property of this expression is gender. So this is new for us, something that new to learn. Okay, remember this is the property. So here the next expression, a husband not empty implies self husband is gender is equal to male. So here we read or we see the interpretation of this expression. So if the said husband, which is our property, associated with a person is not empty, then the value of the property gender of the husband must be male. So here, this property here, this property here should hold the value of this one here. So the husband, of course, the husband should be male, but that's how we read it. The property here should hold hold the property of this value should hold the value of this property here. So the male will implies that the husband is a male. So both first do not OCL but no semantic import. Okay, that's the explanation for this interpretation. And then second, we have another expression, CEO great CEO greater than, no, CEO size less than or equal to 1. That's mean the size of the property, again, property must be 1 or less than 1. So of course here you should know how to read this, less than 1 or equal to 1. So company cannot have more than one CEO. Okay, so this is a, it's not common. This is like a basic expression. And then next we have company. So the set of employees here, employee select age is less than 60. Our property is employee. So the set of employee of a company whose age is less than 60. Okay, so this is expression for OCL. So what's new? What I can conclude or what I can summarize for you all is the value is this part. This is the part that we call as property. Okay. So, oh yeah, I want to share with you guys something. So as you can see here, this is the CEO. I think you heard this a lot. CEO stand for Chief Executive Officer. In a company, usually we have two, CEO and CTO. CEO is Chief Executive Officer. CTO is Chief Technical Officer. Usually, we, the developer, programmer, BA, QA, support team, all under the CTO, Chief Technical Officer. Usually, CEO is the one that relate with business, how to get more business. That's the use of CEO. Usually, we will go under CTO. So let's move. Oh yeah, by the way, let me share with you guys why I think, because last week on Thursday, I think last week on Monday, last week on Thursday, I went to see our principal in our campus. So this is just a sharing with you guys. So the principal taught me, because last week was my first time went to the campus. So it's like first meeting between me, program leader Ponsu, and our principal, Miss Chu. Yeah. So she taught me that for our course, for our department, we actually should do like at least for one semester we have like 3 hours of talk by the someone who worked from the industry. So Miss Chu, I shouldn't mention, but yeah, the principal taught me to give talk not only to our student but to the student under our department regarding how, or yeah, because she's aware that whatever we learn in school, no, in not school, sorry, in class, is not necessarily what we will apply to the working environment. So she said to me that some student, it's not only for your class. Actually, this is common. Student, you can be smart in class, you can get 4 flat, but when you go to the real working world, you cannot be the top of your. It's not like the top of your for your in your company, but uh, it is important for a student, because our principal has that concern that it is very important for our student to have know actually what it is like in the working environment. So she asked me, because she said that she checked from my resume, actually I have that experience, but I think I'm not that ready yet. So what I can do is maybe I will share a bit in my class with my student only. So yeah, that's my point. That's why I think I'm going to share whatever I know, because I think she has the right point there. Students do not know. Some students they got 4 flat, but when they go to working, they do not know how to associate. They do not know how to blend in with people. That's where the problem or the trouble will come in. your pointer is not important. Of course, it is important. It is like a ticket actually. But when you're working, no one will bother on your pointer. No one will care what is your pointer. None. It's all about your survival skill. Okay. That's why I said, of course, it is important to study. It is important to know the diagram. But in your working there, no one will ask you what the name of the diagram. But of course, you need to know the basic things. Okay. The most common one for OOAD when you go to work is the flowchart. For BA, but for programmer, at least you should know how to write pseudocode. That is too basic. Don't tell them you do not know how to write pseudocode. They're going to laugh at us. And then what else? The class diagram. That is the most common thing. So at least you should have that knowledge with you. Okay. So back to this slide. So object constraint language again. So why or where we can apply the OCL. So OCL can be used for a number of different purposes. So first, to specify invariance on a class and type in the class model. So like I said, invariance is a condition on class and type in the class model. And then second, to specify type invariant for stereotype to describe pre and post condition. Pre and post condition. But this one, pre and post condition. Is this in this course? Let me think. Pre and post. Yeah, this one, pre and post. You should know what is pre and post condition. If you do your assignment, you should know what is pre and post condition. So OCL is to describe pre and post condition on operation methods and to specify constraints on operation, the limitation on operation. And then okay. So OCL, reason why we use OCL is allow suitably enable modeling tools to generate code based on OCL expression. OCL expression, the one that you scroll back, the one just now, the one that I mentioned with the just now, this thing, property. This is the expression. And then allow suitably enable modeling tools to the consistency of UML models. Okay, so that's why I said this chapter is quite easy. I think the new thing that we learn, of course, this whole chapter is new, but most of it we can apply from the previous chapter. But the new thing I think is only the expression just now. So this is a review question. So this is like this is a review question. So this is exercise for this chapter. If you go to the next page, later we will see. So attempt the following question. So here it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you need to write a expression. So guys, this is very important because like I said, the expression just now is how to read or how to write that expression is something that new to us. So you need to try to do this. You don't have to be, your answer shouldn't be limited to whatever I highlight here. This one what I already tried. So this one is only for me. So at least it's not at least, you guys should try to do this. Okay, you guys should try to do this to test or see your understanding. So this is the summary for this chapter, chapter 7. So here the summary. You have learned the role of operation specification, the algorithm and non-algorithmic technique and what's the difference, and then about the use of. So if you go back, if you cross-check with the outline of this course, of course, you won't see this decision table pre, you won't see pre and post condition, structure, English also you won't see, but we only learn what is activity diagram and OCL, okay? This tree on the top mentioned here is not, we didn't cover because here. Okay, so we only cover what activity diagram and OCL. Okay, that one is the summary for this chapter. So, Uh, then next we will move to chapter 8, specifying control, state diagram, and event. So before we move to the next chapter, chapter 8, state chart diagram. Any question regarding chapter 7? I should mention your name. Daniel, Tan Soon Yap, Daniel, do you have any question? Ah, Tan Soon Yap, Daniel. Okay. Farah Vincent, do you have any question? Or Farah Vincent, Ivan, do you have any question? Actually, why I mentioned your name, because I want to see, I noticed some student, not only in my class, usually after you guys already left, I stay in this classroom to see who stay, because I know that student is not with us. He just opened his PC. I know that he just it's not PC, laptop, and then he left. He left me talking alone. So that's why I don't mind actually, but I think it's quite funny. Uh, yeah. There's someone in your class I noticed. You should know you. You should know yourself. Ian, do you have any question? Jonathan, Ian, do you have any question? Luckily, you can answer me. By the way, where's your? Oh, okay then. So I think no. So before we proceed, I think we have time today. By the way, I just want this. I'm just curious. This is not related to our study because you guys are still first year, right? First year, right? Yeah. Let me answer myself. Yeah, you guys are still first year. So I just want to know. I'm just curious because uh is there any of you who are intern after you already finish your study, after you already finish your degree? Is there any one of you intern or yeah, intern second? This one with second year. This one is credit transfer, right? The thing that I asked last time. By the way, my question is there any one of you that intend to work outside Sabah after you already finish your study? Guys, let me share with you. This is just my sharing because I'm a Sabahan too. I'm from Tawau, by the way. I went to fly to KL. I'm not saying that Sabah here. Of course, we should be proud of Sabah, but I'm not saying that. Do not take me wrongly, and no offense. I'm not saying that Sabah is we don't have that opportunity in here in Sabah. No, I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm not saying that. But what I'm trying to say is for our course, it's not course for our field. I'm talking generally about computer science. For our course, we have bigger opportunity in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, and Penang because Penang have a lot of software house. If you're interested to be a programmer, but I've never been there. But I know that Penang have Motorola, HP, Dell, they have a lot of big company they're based in Penang like a software house. But even if you don't go to Penang, KL and Selangor are fine with us. So if you go to there, you have bigger or a lot of opportunity there compare here in Sabah. Of course, Sabah is good, Sabah is great. But for our domain, for our field, if you go to there, you have bigger opportunity. Like I said just now, I said in this class just now, pointer is not. Of course, we need to get higher pointer. Of course, we need to aim for flat for our study. But if you go to working, that ticket, I mean, our pointer, our transcript is only like a ticket for us to get accepted in the company. But when you're working, no one really care about your pointer. I have a friend, most of my friend, back the one that study with me together, they didn't even get 3.0. They only get, I think my friend, let's talk about my best friend. She only got 2.5, 2. I'm not sure, below 2.7, if I'm not mistaken, 2.6 or 2.5. We were grad back in 2016. So 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So after 5 or 6 years, of course, we have some career development. She only got 2.5 or 2.16. So now she is a leader. She is a leader for our company now. She's working with HP. Of course, her salary is, I don't want to mention her salary. You should know you're working with HP and she is a leader for her team. She is a tester, by the way. So that's why I said whatever you study in your course, I'm not telling that you shouldn't study, of course. Of course, you need to study, but don't stress too much. Don't, again, I'm not against the education system, but sometimes whatever we learn is not whatever we apply. So here, which industry I worked previously, I'm working with banking industry. But don't be mistaken. Banking industry is not I joined the, for example, Maybank. We have Maybank to you. I'm not involved with that type of application. What I did previously, I was in AML, anti-money laundering. So if you know what, I don't expect, because I don't expect you to know what is AML. Anti-money laundering is actually an application or a software where we combat with money laundering. So what money laundering is actually, it's quite fun. Mm, Let me tell you one of the thing that we do. For example, of course, I think you know this. Before we onboard, before we create an account in the bank, or before we open saving account in a bank, the bank will ask for our details, for our name, what IC number, phone number, what we do, what our job is. They will ask all of that. So, for example, oh, that's where we will take place. That's mean we will analyze this one client. For example, me, I go to open an account in a bank. So I open an account. I have my occupation as a lecturer. Yeah, let's say my occupation in the database is a lecturer. Let's say in one day, I transfer ringgit Malaysia. Let's say in a day, I transfer 50K, 50,000 of ringgit Malaysia. So that amount of money, 50,000 of ringgit Malaysia, do not match with my occupation. So they will track the money. That mean they will ask me, because of course in Malaysia, they will ask where did we get the money. They will find the source of the money. So that's what we do. Like it's not that we're tracking people money, but that's what we do. We track the money. For example, this minister transfer this billion of money in a day, or maybe I don't know. I'm just saying random stuff. So we will track that person. And of course, I shouldn't. For example, me, my name is now Shikin, Narshikin binti Zainal Abidin. So from this name, they will check who is my relative, who is my brother, who is my mother, who is my father, or what they do, what is their occupation, or where is the source of the money, or where is the source of the income. Yeah, KYC, Konkenshak. You know that KYC is know your customer. That's the process that we call as KYC. KYC is a process know your customer. So it is very important for a bank. Even if you go to a bank, if you go to a bank as a student, of course, they will have all of your information. That is very, it's not dangerous, but yeah, that's how it works. Oh, Konkenshak. I think you work at the front end or back end, because I'm not really know the front end of the bank front, as a teller, maybe bank teller. Is it? How old are you, Konkenshak? In branch. Oh, 25. I'm 28, so I'm 3. I think you have more experience than me. So by the way, I work at the back end of the process. I think you should, if you know what is KYC, you should know what is AML, anti-money laundering. You should know that. But I don't know what things or what happened in the front end, because I only work at the back end, the process behind of the stuff. So that's what we call as KYC, know your customer. So every transaction actually we do in a bank, we have this process that we call EOD, end of day. So this process, this name, your transaction, your money will always be processed at night. So that's what I do. And actually, another thing I said, like I said, it's not that you Sabah is good, but when you go to KL, you have that opportunity. Of course, you will meet Oh, you will work with people from different country. For my case, no, for my company, I work with people from Hong Kong, Cambodia, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Cambodia, Vietnam, India, Singapore. So you will meet a lot of people compare if you work in Sabah. I'm not comparing, but you know the opportunity there. And of course, other than career development, other than your experience, of course, the salary there, it's quite okay. I think now 2021, 2021, I think I'm just saying, I think the basic for 2021 in for computer science student should be around 3,000. Yeah, 3,000. So maybe I have a friend again. I have a friend in Sabah. We graduate back in 2016 degree. Her starting was 1.8K, 1,800. If I'm not mistaken, now is 2021 already. Her salary is only 2K. So, but it's up to us actually. Maybe they want to stay here for parents, for family, so that they are close. But of course, if you have that opportunity, not only KL, of course, you can go even overseas, Singapore. So actually, um, that's just my sharing. I don't have that much experience, but I think 2 years I work with different client, different people. So I think at least I have that experience. By the way, Konkenshak, which bank are you working with before? HLB? Mbang. Ah, Mbang. Mbang. Oh, Mbang here in KK? Should be in KK, right? Because Metro, Metro Town, Metro Town in KK. Where's Metro Town? Kek Kolombong. Oh, okay, Metro Town. So you should know at least. You should know what is the. By the way, you have Konkenchak. You have that advantage actually because you work at the front end before. If you want to go to the back end, you should have that advantage. People will hire you, especially Mbang, because you have that experience. So I don't think you have any problem if you want to go back to the field as the front people or back end people. I don't have much to share actually, but yeah. So you have this Sifu here, Senpai Konkenshak. You can ask him to get a job for you guys. So guys, let's have a 5-minute break before I move to the next chapter. Can we? 5 minutes or 11? 5. Okay. So guys, hi. So I think we can proceed with chapter 8, specifying control, state diagram, and event. I haven't shown my screen. Okay. Hmm. So chapter 8, just now we cover chapter 7. Chapter 7, specifying operation. Now we go to state diagram and event. Well, state diagram, okay, never mind. So we will look at state diagram and event. So in this chapter, chapter 8, we will learn how to model object life cycle using state chart. We will see what is a state chart or what is a state diagram. We will see what is state chart, state diagram, and how to develop state chart diagram for interaction diagrams, how to ensure consistency with other UML model. So state chart actually, or state chart or a state diagram, what we will see later, but it is a type of diagram that we use, state chart, that we use to describe the behavior of our system. State chart 2 is not, you are familiar with the state chart, but we will see later. So here is the introduction. So like I said, state chart or state diagram is used to model the dynamic behavior of classes. It is actually to describe the behavior of the class of the system. Okay, so that is the main purpose of state chart or state diagram. So define object response to message, the object behavior. So we use a state chart when there's a change in the state. That means we are from one state to another state, but we will see later. So we use state chart when there's a transition, a change of state. Then how to identify state. So status condition that may need to report to the management or customer. And then draw one state chart for one entity class, not all entity class, only complex life cycle. So we will see later. However, this is the introduction of the state chart or state diagram. So what you need to know, the use of state chart or the use of state diagram is to describe the behavior of the system or of the class. Okay, that is the basic concept of the state diagram or state chart. Okay, let's move to this one. So here, relationship between OO models. So here, when you see a diagram like this, you do not be afraid, because some of you might be scared if they see this kind of, this is not complex, but they combine a few diagram here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So use case diagram, sequence diagram, class diagrams, and state chart diagram. However, do not be afraid with this kind of diagram or anything, any complex thing. So here we look at the into each of it. So from this use case diagram, so this is our use case diagram, and of course in our use case diagram we have this use case. So let's take this let's take this use case to create a new order. So this is our use case. So from this use case, create new order, we can come or we can produce this sequence diagram. The relationship between sequence diagrams is used to show the process in time of our object. So from this use case, we can come out with you sequence diagram. Okay, and then from this sequence diagram, from this class or object, we can come out with the state chart here. Okay, but before we go to this is a class diagram for each of these class. So class diagram is to show the relationship between the object, and then here state chart, the new thing that we will learn today, state chart diagram for other class. So state chart is used, or state diagram, to show the behavior. So from this order, this is a process. So this is the example of state chart. We have this starting point, entry point. This is the notation, whatever we call it, but this is where we start. And then the item being entered and ready to ship. So this is the state chart, the flow of the process, but we will see later. Okay, so before we move to the example of state chart or state diagram here, we will look at this introduction here. So state diagram, object state, so condition during an object's life. So condition is to satisfy a criteria, perform an action, wait for an event, and it is a semi-permanent condition. Okay, external event external event cause object to move to a new condition. So external event is actually any event that pass from a user, external from the user to the system. So that means it will cause the object to move to a new condition. That means we have a transition here. So transition is actually a period of changing from one state to another state. But we will see later what is transition and what is the notation, or what is the symbol of transition. Okay, so we will see later. This one is like the introduction of state diagram. Okay, here is, just now is the introduction, here is the example. Yeah, this is a easy example of state diagram. So object state naming convention. So maybe a simple condition such as um, I, there's one. Okay, we have a diagram. So here state diagram, object state naming convention. So maybe a simple condition. This is such a simple example. So we have condition which is on or off. This is a condition on or off. So the naming can be active name consisting of verbal noun or verb phrase. So as you can see here, this is a, this is, for example, A is a state, B is a state. So this is the event, the transition that should change this, that should change the state from this one to this one. What is, later we will see the example. However, this is the example of the state chart. That means the changing of state. From this state, let's say this is on or this is off to on. So there is something that triggered to change this on to off condition. Okay, we will see later. But this is an what we call as transition or event, external event. Okay, so here this is the symbol notation. So state diagram, object state naming convention. So usually then you have this four, this is not new, these two, and start. And then this is the state name. State name, for example, just now I said is it can be on, it can be off. Okay, this is the state name, this is the transition. So transition in a state chart is actually a period of changing from one state to another state or another condition. That's mean from state A to state B, we have this transition. We have this process changing of state from state A to state B. Okay, this is the notation, the symbol of state chart. And then here, object transition. So object transition cause an object to leave one state and change to a new state. This one is what I said just now. You need to know, you need to remember, transition is a process that change from one state to another state. That's mean, for example, from on to off. It is a transition period of changing from one state to another state or to another condition. So this is a format to write a transition. So we have this 1 to 3 part. So event name, gut condition, and action expression. So you guys can see this is yeah, this is the example to write the name or format 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 to write the transition name. So at least we need to have one of these part. It's not necessary to have both three of it. At least we can have any one of these part here, one of the both part. So event name, the parameter, gut condition, or any action or expression. So it is important for us to actually have one, because if we do not write any part of this, how do we know what is the how the user know what is the process, or how do we know what is the action that take place to change the condition? So it is very important to have at least one of these. And then that one is the transition format, naming to write the transition. Then here we have some transition format, part 1, part 2, part 3. Like I said, at least they have one of these part. So here they explain each of the part here. The first part is event name, the parameter. And then the second part is gut condition. And then action expression. So action expression is this one. Describe the action form and execute when the transition fires. Transition fires, that's mean when the transition take place. Yeah, when the transition take place. Okay, so that's the action expression. Not necessary to have three, but at least we have one. Like I said, it is important to tell the user what is the process, or what is the process that take place that change the condition or that part. Okay, so that is the transition format in naming. At least have one. So this one is the one I said just now, or example. As you can see here, we have this fragment, sequence fragment. This one we already learned in the chapter before. I think, is it last? I'm not sure, but we already learned this fragment. So here is the process like bulb protocol. As you can see, we have two steps here, off and on. So we have this off and on state is equal to off. So we want to turn off. What is the process to turn, what is the state chart to turn on this bulb? So as you can see, we have this notation, the one in the previous above slide, on and no, starting and end point, end of our process. Here is the process earlier state. So as you can see here, this is the initial state of our bulb. This is off. The initial state is in off. So we want to turn on the bulb. So this is the state chart. As you can see, we have this transition here, the process transition. Turn on. This is an event to on the bulb. So this is the name, turn off the event. When the bulb is already on, we have two options. We have two conditions. Either it can burn out, or we can turn off to change back the state of our event or our state. So if it is burnout, we have no option. So that's the end of process. But from on, we can have this transition here, the transition. change of state from on or off. So here is the simple process or simple state chart for a light bulb. Okay, from off to on. We have this condition to state here, off or on. We can turn off or it will burn out. So no process anymore. By the way, burnout is also a transition. Why? Because it is a change of a state from turnout to burnout pop. By the way, yeah, that is a transition. So this is the example of this one is quite easy. So because in this state chart we only have this for state or for state chart symbol or notation. Okay, so it's quite easy. Like I said, if you know flowchart, then you know how to read this diagram. So here, state diagram, payment class with event. So this one, we want to make a process to make a payment. As you can see here, start and end process, end notation, start and end notation. So first, we need to check amount. So when we check amount, this is the state here, unpaid state. So in unpaid, we can make two, or we have these two transition here. First is partially pay and full pay. So if we go to partially pay, from this unpaid status, we will get the partially paid status. So if we partially pay, of course, it will be partially paid. And if from unpaid, we have this transition, we fully pay, then we will get this status here, stat, this status here, which is fully paid, and that's the end of process. And if you go to partial pay, you will get this status, this stat, or this event, and then you need to full pay, or you need to pay again so that you will get this fully paid status. Okay, so this is the simple flowchart, state diagram or state chart, state diagram or state chart. Okay, this one. Hmm, where's my state diagram interaction? Actually, I lost my note. By the way, this is the example of state diagram. It's quite easy. Actually, okay. Okay, so this is the example. Okay, so let's move to the next state diagram, grade red class. This one is the process. This one is the process for grade red class. So this is the process, the initial state, final state or end process. So here, initial state. So grade red, we want to grade red. This one. So the initial state of the process, of course, this is the initial state, but this is the initial state of the process, pending. The status is pending. And then we have change of event, which means this is the transition process to change from pending to active, from this state to this state. So this is the condition. So when red start date is equal to or less than or equal to current date. Okay, so this is the condition or the transition to change from this state to this state. You can read this is the condition when red start date is equal to or is less than or equal to current date. It will change this status to active. And then there's another transition between this state with this condition when red finish that is equal to less or equal to current date, it will change again the state from active to lapse. So after 1 year, this is the elapsed time event. It will go to the after 1 year. it will end the process final state. So this is the process. I think it is very important, even though it is easy, but it is very important for us to understand the diagram, to understand and to read, how to read the diagram. Of course, like I said, the notation or the symbol is not new for us. We use this in the basic one, flowchart, but we need to know how to read them. Okay, let's move to next slide. State diagram, life of a class order. So this is actually a event. Okay, this is an event. So this is an example of state diagram. So this is an event. The first, or what the one is, the customer creates an order on the web. So this is a process actually. So this is a processed order. So the first one, the customer creates an order on the web, and then the customer submit the order. Once finished, the credit authorization. If denied, if accepted, the order is shipped, the customer receive, and the order is closed. So we will see how to write a state diagram based on this process. So first create, submit order, authorization, authorization check, denied, accepted, shift, receive, close. Okay. So this is a process. Oh, okay. Guys, by the way, I want to ask you, since I haven't asked anything yet today, so I want to ask you, what is authorization? What is authorization? Jeremiah, what is authorization? What is authorization? It's basic in computer science. Huh? The authorized user. Okay. Noel, what is authorization? What is authorization? We have time, so I can ask Rachel. Is Rachel here? Yes, Rachel. What is authorization? Okay. To allow or deny access. Okay. So what is the difference between authorization and authentication? This one is authorization. What is authentication? Nyap How Wong. What is authentication? It's not in the slide, but is the concept. Role of the user, authentication. Okay, wait. Celine. Hi, Celine. What is authentication? No, no. Ivan, what is authentication? Celine and Ivan, what is authentication? It's the time for you to Google. By the way, here, I asked just now, what is authorization to authorize user? Okay, so in this lecture note, authorization based on regarding the lecture note, authorization is we need to check if the user or the credit card have that access to use or to make the payment. However, this one, yes, this one is based on the lecture note. Okay, this one is, I think, the correct. I think, it's not I think. I mean, out of your answer here, this answer by Noel, I asked just now what is authorization. So authorization actually, like I said, authentication and authorization is very basic. So authorization is actually the level of access. Oh, this one you have here. Level of access by the user. So authorization is level of access. And then I asked just now, what is what is authentication. So authentication is the process to verify the identity of the user. We want to check authentication if is the process that we want to check if the user is a valid user or not. So here verify the user identity. This one is verifying the user identity by obtaining his or her credential. This one is authentication. Providing proving if it's a genuine or not. Okay, so the difference between authentication and authorization, this one is a basic terms that you guys should know, including me. So authentication, before we go to authorization, we should know that authentication is a process to check this one, to verify the user identity, to check if that user is a valid user or not. Then only they can log in, or then only they can proceed with the system. That one is authentication. Okay, there's another word that always bind to this authentication word, which is authorization. So authorization, okay, authorization, what you need to know for authorization is the level of access. For example, in a system, okay, for example, we have this system A. System A. Only authenticate user can get into the system. So for example, system A is, for example, student intranet. Okay, let's say student intranet is a system. Then authentication is a process where they will check your credentials. So all the students that have the credential can log in into the system. That is authentication. But authorization is the level of access. Level of access, that's mean after we already get in the system, there are some part, some of the system that we cannot enter. That is the authorization. Hmm, let's take easier example. Okay, for example, our campus. Our campus, only student and staff can go to the inside the campus area. So that is the authentication, because we are the valid user, we are the student, we are the staff of Tarusi, so we can get into the campus. But authorization is not everyone can go into the principal room. That is authorization. Everyone can get into the campus, but not everyone can get into the principal room. So that's the difference between authentication and authorization, proving if it is a genuine or not. So basically, I think you guys know what is authorization and authentication. Okay, like I said, it's important and it's quite basic in our field. So if people ask you what is the difference, you should know what is the difference between authentication and authorization. Okay, so here, this is the process. The credit authorization needs to be approved for the order to be accepted. So this is the process to create the order on a web. So initial state, final state. So here, create order. So transition, we will processing our order. So like from the previous slide, if you scroll above, they have this process to check if the credit authorization is approved or denied. So first we will go to denied. So if our credit authorization is denied, then that's the end of your process. Okay. But if it is approved, your order will be placed. That means they will receive, they will take your order. And then from place to ship, you have this transition, ship order. That means this is a process that change this state from place to ship. This is a step. This is a step. Okay, from this to this. Okay, ship to receive. Yeah, place to ship, and then to ship to receive, you have another transition here. Accept the order. So this is the event that trigger the change of the state from ship to receive, which accept order. So once he already received the order, it will close your order. It will go to this end process or end notation. Okay, so this one is quite easy. Okay, instead diagram, even though like I said in flowchart, you have diamond shape for condition, but here in state diagram, we just do something like this, okay? We do not use that state the diamond shape for condition, only use this one, okay? That one is quite easy. So here's the diagram for patient class. This one is for hospital to check or to diagnose patient. So first check in. This is a starting entry, and this is the end of our process. So first, this is the process that make this state or initial state which they need to check in. So that means they will be admitted to a hospital. And then from this admitted, we have two conditions. Of course, when we are admitted, they need to diagnose us, they need to check on us. So if we are healthy, if we are in good condition, they will release us, okay? They will release the patient. And then if they are admitted and the diagnosis, they are unhealthy, so they need to go for further observation. Until they are healthy, they will be released. So as you can see, this is the process, this is the state, and this is the transition, okay? Transition of process. I think this one is quite easy. You just need to know transition is a process that change the state to another state, from this state to this state. So this is the transition. Same goes to this one. This is the transition that change from this state to this state. Okay, and then this is a process. Release after 5 years. That's the end of the process. Okay, so this is the state diagram for patient class. By the way, guys, I want to give you free advice. Okay, I think you guys know. You should know. Everyone know that COVID-19. If you check, number of cases in Malaysia is increases. Even let's focus in Sabah. We have high number of cases. So my point is, even though you guys or maybe we are quite young for this COVID-19, I'm not sure, and I don't hope any of my students here in this class are affected, because in TAR, as I was informed last week, if I'm not mistaken, last week, we have few students already got affected with COVID-19. And one of the students, I'm not sure if it is true or not, his condition is getting worse, my student, getting worse day to day, but I think he's quite young. But the news, the source that I received is not the primary source. It's not from the student himself, because he didn't respond to me. But that's okay. I just received her news, or I just heard about him from his friend and from other lecturer. So you guys, even though you're young, stay safe. COVID-19. Mm, Actually, last few week he messaged me, he WhatsApp me. I think he went to a vaccine. I think one for shot, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. Oh yeah, it's in my WhatsApp. But yeah, he informed me. He said he want to take a leave or apply a leave. But then suddenly I heard that his condition is getting worse. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's not my primary source. He didn't tell me himself. I got his news from other lecturer. Why? Is there any relation between vaccine and COVID-19? I mean, of course, after, guys, this is my sharing. Vaccine is not prevent us. Vaccine do not prevent us from getting COVID-19. Okay, don't think when you get vaccinated, you won't get COVID-19. No, it will reduce or increase. It will reduce the risk and increase our antibody actually. So yeah. By the way, Calvin Shark, why you ask? Is there any relation? Yeah, between vaccinated and COVID-19? Never mind. Curious only. Yeah, I'm curious too. He didn't respond to me, so I'm not sure his condition. So here is the state chart for ATM machine. So here is fragment. Again, guys, you need to familiarize yourself with this fragment, what do you call this? Sequence fragment. Okay, here is the name, stat machine bank ATM. So here we have three stat, which is idle. Idle, like what we already learned. Idle is, that means we are not, the process is not doing anything. So it is an idle mode. So idle, out of service, and active. So here's the process. So idle, from idle we can have this process if we have this transition where we cut in, or where we insert our card into the ATM machine. It will change this process and this state into this state, from idle to active. And then if we cancel, the ATM will be idle again. Or once we are done with the process, it will go to idle again. So from idle, of course, the ATM machine can be out of service sometimes. So from idle, they turn to out of service. So there's a process transition here. Service, from idle, they need to service. So it will be out of service. So it is not available. And then once it is fixed, from this state, they have this transition, they have this process, it will go to idle again. So it is good to use. Okay. This is an easy, even though you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like many arrow here, but that's nothing much actually. This is just a process from idle to active, from idle to out of service. Okay. Like I said, you just need to know how to read them. You just need to know how to read the diagram. Okay. Here is the state chart development. Okay. Review. Okay. State chart development. So review class diagram and select classes needing state chart. Review class diagram and select classes needing state chart. And then identify input message or sequence diagram for selected class. For each selected class in group, make a list of all steps. Build state chart fragment and sequence fragment in correct order. Review path and look for independent concurrent path. Concurrent, that means any path that can concurrent, you know the term concurrent. It can happen or it can go simultaneously. More than, yeah, it concurrent path simultaneously. So expand each transition. Transition is the thing I explained just now. Transition is the process that we do to change from one state to another state. So expand each transition with the appropriate message, event, gut condition, and action expression. So at least one of these. Scroll back to the previous slide. You know how to use this. Then you know how to use this. At least one of these. Because, like I said, it is important to tell to show what is the event that triggered the change of state. Okay. And then last, we need to review and test each state chart. Okay, review and test each state chart. That means we go to read the process back. We go to read the process one by one to see if it is correct or not. So here in this chapter, we already learned about when and how to model a simple state chart diagram and state chart development. State chart development is the one just now. When and how to model a simple state chart diagram. Okay, you should know already how to develop and how to read the process of your state chart diagram. Again, this is a exercise for this chapter. For the lecture not last week, interaction diagram, chapter 7, if I'm not mistaken, it is interaction diagram. I checked for last week. No exercise for last lecture, but for this lecture and the previous lecture just now, chapter 7, we have exercise and you need to do that. Okay, for this exercise, construct a state chart diagram for an order class based on online mail ordering and delivery as described below. Okay, so you need to do this one, state chart diagram for an order class. This one is the first one. You need to do this. We will see next week. And then second one is draw a state chart diagram for debit card account class to track different state of the application process. This one you need to draw a state chart diagram too. Okay, you have two exercise like I said for lecture note. It is very important for you to do the exercise. Why? Uh because because I know that lecture note, every exercise in lecture note is very important because I've been student for 9 years, since I was 18 until now 28, 10 years maybe, 8 to 9 to 8 years. So I've been a student nonstop, so I know what's important to do or not to do. But of course, everything is important. But sometimes we have shortcuts. So this exercise at the end of our lecture is very important because they summarize and they summarize everything into one question. So in your exam, maybe they will ask something like this. So this is very important. Okay. Even when I'm a student too, but you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't follow me. Even when I'm a student, if I'm very lazy to read the lecture note, I will go check the last page of my lecture note and the first page only. It's like I read the abstract and then I see what's important and then I go to this last chapter. So that's why it is very important. But like I said, do not follow me. I'm not as smart as you guys, okay? So since all of you are smart student, good students, so you need to read your lecture note and understand everything, okay? However, my point is this is very important. You need to do this. I think, yeah, we have covered 2 chapters already. I don't want to add more because you and me will get confused. So any question? Or any question, do exercise 1. Uh, do both exercise 1 and exercise 2. Then we will see later what is the sample answer for these 2 exercise. Okay, Vero Vincent? Okay. So yeah. Celine. I always mention Celine because she's very silent. Celine, do you have question? What's her name? Oh, shooting. Okay, no question. Nathan, do you have any question? Rachel? RM? Okay. Can. Hmm. Can. So, by the way, before we end our class, I just want to know, I'm just curious, is there anyone here before your degree study? Because I'm aware not of all of you are straight from diploma. Is there anyone who have any working experience before? Other than Con, Ken, Shak? Or maybe you? What's this? Kelvin Shak, do you have any working experience before? Noel? No? Noel, do you have? Then you, Jonathan Ian, where were you? I mean, where were you? I mean, what you doing before? Just wait. Oh, that's a good experience actually. Jonathan Ian, what did you do? Wait. Some intern office. Freelance even photographer. Rachel, are you a photographer before? That's all. Oh, okay. No, I'm just curious to ask because I have a student from my diploma. He is 1 year younger than me, and he was a cabin crew before. For internship, okay. Oh, for internship, I think I want to give you a good advice because we have 8 more minutes. I want to give you advice. For degree, you should have internship also, right? Is it for degree? Do you have internship? Yes. So for internship, my advice to you is if you can find a good company that can provide you good internship experience, I mean, like, it is very important to find a company that can provide a good internship experience to you. Some of my friends, they went to, I won't mention here in Sabah because I'm from UMS when I was doing my degree. Some of my friends, they go to a company that they don't really have, they do as a trainee, they don't do anything that can bring benefit to them. So yeah, 6 months. 6 months you can get paid. My internship also already in banking when I was 23. I fly alone to Kuala Lumpur to join a company that provide some banking stuff. So it is very important actually for you to find a company that provide you any experience. And if you're lucky enough, they will get you to work with them. And you will get paid, of course. Okay, I think that's all. Ivan, do you want to share anything, Decimus League? Ivan, Ivan, some of you are very silent, but when we do a meeting, one-to-one meeting, some of you are very friendly. Internship mostly do what? Mm, I don't want to compare, but let's be real here. And I should stop recording. If not, I'm so in trouble. So, yeah, good answer, Farah Vincent. Here, your friend asked, what is internship? Mostly do what? So, in an internship, it's not only internship. When you're new to a company, they don't expect you to do, like I said, when you're working, no one expect you to know everything. So, whatever you're learning, of course, it is important. But, of course, they don't ask you everything. So, as an internship student, it's depend on the company. Yeah, Kelvin Shark, this is what I said just now. My friend, they went to this government office. They only do something that's so not related to IT. There's moving table, like arranging stuff in the office. That is not a good experience. So if you can find a company that can provide you, if a company, yeah, previous internship directly asked me to create a system without any introduction. No guidance whatsoever. Actually, they should provide, actually. They should ask someone. Yeah. Same with me, with mine. Last time, my internship, I went to KL. Then the company asked me to join in, I still remember last time, public. There's something that we call as rentas. I joined them to develop the thing. So it's a good experience for me. I'm not that great. Let me bring up this. Not a test. By the way, one thing, free advice. This is not what you learn in class. When you go to office, when you go to work, you need to have that high survival skill. People sometimes they do not know how to teach. People sometimes they do not want to teach. They don't want even to teach. So you need to have that survival skill. Only have installing printer in the company. By the way, Fair Vincent, it's a good experience. Sometimes people just do not turn on the printer. They not turn on the switch and then they call and complain. They said they have problem with printer. Okay, that's common in IT. Okay, so that's my advice to you guys. If you can find a company that can, of course, money that can pay us, of course, we need to do something that get paid. Find something or find a company that can provide pay us allowance, and then find a company that can provide us experience. Experience is the most important thing. If you go to interview, they will ask you, what is your previous internship program? If you just moving some file or move some table or some desk in the office, it won't bring any help to you guys. Yes, that's why you need to find. By the way, when is your internship program? Is it at the end of your semester? Then that's cool. End of degree. So in my previous company, they take the internship student, they take them as a permanent staff. So whoever interested to join the banking field, who want to do internship, and who want to work with them, you can find me. I can help you guys to go to my company. It's not my company, my previous company. Okay, so I think that's all. Yeah, I will be happy to help you guys. Okay, I think that's all for today. See you guys on Wednesday. Okay, bye guys. Thank you.